Have you ever seen someone regret something the second they did it? He said, "Watch this," and then froze. For 10 whole minutes he stood there, staring at the floor like he was seeing something only he could see. We called his name, shook his shoulder, even shouted, nothing. And then he whispered, barely audible, "She came back." After that he didn't say another word. That was 12 years ago, but I can still hear how he said it. Not afraid, not surprised, just resigned, like it was inevitable. Like we should have known. We were 16. It was the summer before senior year, and we had nothing better to do than kill time the way small-town kids always do, by doing dumb shit in abandoned places. There's not much to do in Northeast Missouri, unless you're into driving in circles or drinking in someone's dad's garage. We were neither, really. So we found other ways to entertain ourselves, stupid games, dares, exploring, that kind of thing. That summer, the local obsession was the old Alderidge house. I'm not going to say it was haunted because I don't think it was. I don't even know if I believe in hauntings. But it was wrong. It was the kind of place that people avoided instinctively, not because of a story or legend. There wasn't really one, not until after. It was just empty even when you were in it, like something had hollowed the place out. It had been empty for decades. People said a family used to live there. The Alderidges, obviously, but there weren't photos or signs of kids. No toys, no markings on the walls, no family pictures left behind. Just this half-rotten farmhouse on the edge of the county, shielded by trees that always seemed too tall, too close. No animals went near it. Birds avoided the roof. The wind never touched the grass around it. It was like the house had been cut out of time and left there to decay. There were 4 of us who went that night. Me, Brian, the one who said, "Watch this," Marcus and Josh. We'd gone to the house before during the day. Once or twice, poked around, made jokes, found old furniture, piles of leaves, some scrawled writing in the cellar that looked like kids trying to be edgy. But this night, this was the first time we went after dark. We weren't drunk. That's important. We weren't high either. Nothing like that. Just 4 dumb teenagers with flashlights and a morbid sense of boredom. We got there around 9:00 p.m. The road was long and narrow, surrounded by trees on both sides. The gate to the driveway had collapsed years ago, so we just walked right up the gravel path, stepping over branches and pieces of scrap wood. I remember how quiet it was. No crickets, no cicadas. Just the sound of our feet and the occasional clack of a flashlight when someone readjusted their grip. The front door had to be pushed open hard. The wood was warped. When we stepped inside, it was just as we remembered it. Peeling wallpaper, the stale smell of mildew and something older underneath. The floors groaned like they were breathing. Brian laughed when the light in the hallway flickered, even though there was no electricity. He said, "Must be ghosts on the grid." We went upstairs first. The second floor only had 2 rooms, a master bedroom and what looked like a study. The master still had a bed frame in it, metal, rusted in spots, no mattress, just some collapsed beams and old sheets that had turned gray. But the study was different. None of us remembered it looking like that. It was clean, not recently cleaned, but it didn't have the same layer of decay as the rest of the house. No mold on the walls, no broken windows, and in the center of the room was a small wooden chair perfectly intact, facing the corner, not the center, not the desk. The corner. Brian was the first to walk in. He always had this thing about being the loudest in the group, always pushing things just a little further. He pointed to the chair and said, "That wasn't here last time, right?" We all shook our heads. Definitely not. Josh went to take a picture on his phone. The flash flickered, and then the phone died. He tried to turn it back on, nothing. I checked mine, still had 84%. Brian laughed, said Josh must have bought it off a raccoon. Then Brian sat in the chair, grinned at us and said, "Watch this." We waited. He stared at the floor like he was building up to something, then he blinked, slowly, and froze. At first we thought he was joking. Brian was good at that, pretending to faint, faking sleep, holding his breath for minutes at a time. But after 30 seconds, Marcus started shifting. After 2 minutes, I felt the back of my neck go cold. 10 minutes, that's how long he sat there, completely motionless, no blinking, no twitching, just staring at a spot on the floor. We tried everything. Touched his arm, shook his shoulders. Marcus even slapped him hard. Still nothing. Then he whispered it. "She came back," voice so low it was almost lost under the sound of our own breathing. After that, he wouldn't speak. We carried him out of the house. He didn't fight us, didn't help either. Just let his body be moved like he wasn't really in it. We drove him to Marcus's place. His parents weren't home. Laid him on the couch. He blinked occasionally, but never looked at us, never reacted. The next morning he was gone, just gone. His shoes were still by the door, his phone still charging. But no Brian. We called everyone. His mom, the sheriff. Eventually, they opened a missing person case. But here's the thing. 2 days later, Brian's phone started posting photos, dark, grainy images of rooms none of us recognized. Old wallpaper, torn carpet. And in every photo, somewhere in the background, a chair, always the same chair facing the corner. We didn't tell the police about the photos. What were we supposed to say? "Hey, the guy who vanished is somehow using his phone to send us cursed interior design shots"? No, we just screenshotted everything, dumped it into a shared Google Drive folder, and stared at them like they might suddenly explain themselves if we looked hard enough. They didn't. There were 17 photos in total, all posted within 6 hours, each one time-stamped and geotagged, but the GPS didn't make sense. One said the photo was taken off Highway 12. Another said no signal. The last one had coordinates that, when we punched them into a map, pointed to the middle of an empty field 2 counties over. But the chair was in every one, and the room it sat in looked familiar in the way dreams do. Not directly. Not I've seen this exact wall before, but in shapes, textures. That peeling corner of wallpaper that made my stomach turn. A smudge on a mirror that looked too much like a handprint to be accidental. I started having dreams. In the first one, I was walking through the Aldridge house, only everything was flipped. Left was right. The stairs curled in the opposite direction, and every time I turned a corner I heard a chair scrape across wood behind me. In the second dream, I found Brian. He was in the chair, not strapped, not tied, just rooted there, like he'd grown into it. Skin stretched thin, eyes sunk, mouth slightly open, whispering something I couldn't hear. But the worst dream came third, because in that one, I was in the chair, and Brian was standing in the corner whispering to something I couldn't see. When I woke up, my phone was on the floor, camera app open. A photo taken of me asleep, sitting perfectly straight in my desk chair, eyes closed, hands in my lap. I hadn't taken it. I didn't even remember falling asleep. That was the night I stopped sleeping in my room. I crashed on the couch, lights on, music playing softly in the background to keep the silence from creeping in. It didn't help. At 3:11 a.m. every light flickered, the music glitched, and for 2 seconds, only 2, I swore I saw the chair in the hallway. But we'd never brought it with us, had we? Marcus was the next to lose it. He started texting us randomly at 2:00 or 3:00 in the morning, short messages. I saw her. She's in the wallpaper. The corner is breathing. Josh called him to check in. Said Marcus sounded fine, just tired. Said he was just processing. That was his word for everything. But then Marcus posted a video, one we never found the original for. It just appeared on his private Instagram, then disappeared 10 minutes later. No caption, just shaky footage of him standing in front of a cracked mirror, muttering the same phrase over and over. She was never buried. She was never buried. She was never buried. After that, he went dark. Account deleted, number disconnected. His mom thought he ran away. Josh and I knew better. So we did something stupid. We went back to the house. It was a Tuesday afternoon, broad daylight. Sun bright enough to bleach the color out of everything. But the closer we got to Aldridge, the quieter it became. Birds stopped. Wind stilled, even the bugs disappeared. The house looked the same from the outside. But inside, there were no stairs. The entire second floor was gone, like it had never been there. The ceiling was smooth, seamless, not collapsed, just flat wood, like it had always been a single-story home. I looked at Josh. He looked at me. Neither of us said anything. We just turned and left, except Josh didn't come with me. I got to the car, turned around, and he wasn't there. I called for him. Silence, no movement, no reply. I ran back inside, but the house had changed again. There were no doors, only the front one, the one I had just walked through, and a chair, sitting in the center of what used to be the kitchen, facing the wall. I didn't go near it. I backed out, step by step, got in the car, called his phone. It rang. And from inside the house, I heard a whisper, "Watch this." Then the line went dead. I haven't seen Josh since. No one's seen any of us since. Not together. They list us as non-criminal disappearances, like we just drifted apart. But I know better. Brian vanished. Marcus went quiet. Josh walked into the house and didn't walk back out. And me. I'm writing this because I can feel it now. The pull, the need to look into the corner of the room even when I know nothing's there. The sense that someone is just behind me when I sit in silence. And the chair, it's not in the house anymore. It's wherever I am, waiting, facing the wall. And sooner or later, I'll sit. We all do. Eventually, the chair started showing up in other places. Not physically. Not at first. Just in photos, videos, reflections, places it didn't belong. One night I was watching an old home video my mom had sent me from her attic. A birthday party when I was 6. Cheap camcorder, yellowed colors, that low electric hum VHS tapes always have. We were outside, balloons, cake, music, nothing weird until I paused it, and there it was, far in the background, blurry but unmistakable. A wooden chair, same shape, same design, facing a tree, not the camera. Just there. I never noticed it before. Never. I called my mom, asked if she remembered anything like that. She said something I still think about too often. "Oh, that old chair, I thought that was yours." She thought I brought it to my own 6th birthday, but it didn't stop there. I started seeing it in commercials, in the background of a furniture ad, on a news segment just outside the taped-off edge of a crime scene. In a TikTok someone posted of a flea market, a 4-second pan across the tables. And there it was, squeezed between a stack of record crates and a box of mismatched dishes. Every time it was facing away, never toward the camera, never toward anyone, just turned toward a corner. A wall, a window, something unseen, and every time I spotted it, I'd get this pressure in my head, like my thoughts were pressing up against something I wasn't supposed to remember, but I did. I remembered her. I hadn't before, not clearly, but after the fourth or fifth time I saw the chair it came rushing back. Her name was Emily. She wasn't from town. I think she moved into our class in 3rd grade, quiet, hair always in a single braid, always drawing, not doodles but strange detailed things, rooms with no doors, trees with faces, figures without hands. I remembered the first day I saw her cry. The teacher had asked everyone to share something from home. Some kid brought a seashell, another brought a baseball card. Emily stood up and held a crumpled photo. It was just a corner torn and blurry. But she said it was from her old house, the corner where she watched me sleep. That's what she said. No one understood. The teacher smiled uncomfortably, asked her to take a seat. A week later, Emily stopped coming to school. We were told her family moved again. That's what I remembered, or thought I remembered, until recently, because I found something else. After that night in Aldridge, I went down a spiral, started digging through old school records, scanned yearbooks, even used archive.org to look up cached pages from the old school website. Emily wasn't listed. Not in our class, not in the district. No photos, no report cards, no record. I called Marcus's older sister. She was in the same grade as us, 1 year up. Asked if she remembered Emily. Long pause. Then she said, "The girl with the chair?" My blood ran cold. I didn't ask her what she meant, because I knew Emily didn't bring the chair. She followed it, or maybe it followed her. That was the year the Aldridge house caught fire. Not destroyed, just damaged. I'd forgotten all about it. The news story said it was caused by a lightning strike, but we hadn't had storms in weeks. No one was hurt, because no one had lived there for years, except I remembered seeing a light in the upstairs window, a flicker, a glow, like someone had put a lamp in the corner and then walked away. I went back to the house one more time, not out of courage, desperation. I needed to know if the chair was still there, if it was all in my head, if I was imagining the pressure in my skull that built up every night around 3:00 a.m. I brought a flashlight, phone, recorder, knife, didn't matter. The house was gone, not burned down, erased. The road still curved around the bend. The trees were still there, but the house? No foundation, no rubble, no ash, just flat packed earth, like nothing had ever been built there. I walked the spot where the front door used to be, and the pressure in my head vanished. For a moment. I thought I'd escaped it. But that night I woke up in the chair. I don't know how I got there. I don't even remember falling asleep, but I was sitting perfectly still, hands in my lap, eyes open, facing the corner of my bedroom, and in the silence, I heard her voice for the first time in years, whispered, faint, just behind me, "Don't turn around. You're not ready yet." I sat there until sunrise, then I moved, checked the mirror. My face looked fine, but the reflection of the room behind me, it still had the chair in the corner. Even after I'd moved it, even after I'd burned it, even now, I can still see it there when the lights are off. I think, it's waiting for someone else now, not me. I've already taken my turn. But if you've ever been dared to sit in a chair in some old abandoned house, and if, when you do, the room suddenly gets too quiet, and if you feel something lean forward from behind the wall, just far enough to say your name like it remembers you from a dream, don't say "watch this." Don't try to be brave. And whatever you do, don't look in the corner. After that night, I stopped trusting mirrors, not out of paranoia, out of evidence, because I started seeing things in them. Not shapes, not faces, just scenes, reflections that didn't match the room behind me, a crack in the paint that wasn't there, a shadow cast by a light I hadn't turned on. Sometimes it was the chair. Sometimes it was the girl, Emily, or something that looked like her. She'd stand just at the edge of the glass, staring at me with this expression, not angry, not sad, just waiting. One night I tried to take a photo of it. I aimed my phone at the mirror and snapped. The image that came out wasn't of the room. It wasn't even of me. It was a photo of a different mirror, framed in black, dirty, something etched into the top of the glass in curled, old-fashioned letters. The room remembers. I checked the metadata. Date 2001. Time 3:00 a.m. Taken on a Motorola flip phone I've never owned. And the file name, img_434_Emily returned, JPEG. I didn't save the image, didn't have to, because the next morning my laptop screen turned on by itself, and there it was, set as my wallpaper. No icon, no folder, just the image. It stayed there for 3 days, no matter what I did. Eventually, I gave up, and that's when the knocks started. Always at 3:11 a.m., 3 soft taps, not on the front door, not on the windows, on the wall, the interior wall, the one that used to face the corner of my childhood bedroom. I moved out of that house 8 years ago, different building, different city, no shared plumbing, no old pipes, no animals in the crawl space, but the knocks followed. Sometimes I tried to wait them out, sometimes I answered, not out loud, just mentally. Like I was willing them to stop. That's when the dreams got specific, no longer wandering through some flipped version of Aldridge. Now I was in a room I'd never seen before, tile floor, one lamp in the corner facing upward, and the chair, always the same chair but turned around, facing me, and in it someone sat, not moving, not speaking, a body made of bags, or hair, or something dark that shimmered like cellophane in low light. I never saw a face not until last week. That's when it stood up, first time it ever moved, slowly, deliberately, and walked across the room. Not toward me, but toward the corner, then turned back and pointed to the chair. I woke up screaming, and when I checked the mirror it was gone. The chair, the girl, everything, but not really. I got to work that day. I freelance now part-time IT for a medical clinic, and noticed a new poster in the hallway, framed, laminated, part of some mental health awareness campaign. But in the background of the stock photo, behind the smiling doctor and the vague bullet points about stress management, I saw it, a chair, not blurry, not obscured, crisp, clear, centered. No one else noticed. I took the poster down, flipped it over. No watermark, no production label, just a faint pencil scrawl on the back. Watch, remember, sit. I put it back and left early. That night, the lights in my apartment dimmed on their own. My phone restarted 3 times, and I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You were in the room longer than anyone. You remember the most. I didn't reply, but I wanted to, because part of me did remember, and part of me wanted to go back. That's what no one tells you about this kind of thing. The fear is real, but so is the pull, like a magnet for unfinished thoughts. Like being half asleep and wanting to close your eyes, even when you know you're dreaming something wrong. Last night, I caught myself talking to the corner, just a whisper, just one sentence. It wasn't your fault. I don't know who I was speaking to, but something moved after I said it. Not loudly, not fast, just shifted like a body repositioning itself after hours of stillness. And today I found a letter under my front door, plain white envelope, no stamp, inside one sentence. Do you want to see what Brian saw? No return address, no signature, just a smear of ash on the corner of the page, and a faint, impossible scent. Lilacs and old varnish, the exact smell of the Aldridge house. And when I lifted the paper to my nose again, the scent was gone, like it had never been there, like it didn't need to be anymore. I'm not sleeping tonight. I've moved the furniture into the center of the room, covered the mirrors, turned off the phone, and there's one thing left I haven't done in years. Sit. The chair is waiting. It always was, and I think I'm going to find out what happens when you finally stop resisting the corner. I sat in the chair last night, not the one from Aldridge, obviously, just a regular chair, an old wooden thing I bought at a flea market last year. I never thought twice about it until now, but when I finally stopped pacing, turned off the lights, and lowered myself into it, I knew it was the same, not visually, not structurally, energetically. The grain of the wood pressed against my back in just the right way. The floor beneath me didn't creak, but it felt soft, like soil, like the chair didn't sit on the floor but in it. And the air, it got cold, not in a drafty way, not in a broken heating kind of way, more like the temperature around the chair dropped by 10 degrees while the rest of the room stayed the same. Then the hum started, low, subsonic. It wasn't coming from the walls. It wasn't even audible, exactly, but I could feel it vibrating in my ribs. And then the corners of the room stretched. I don't know how else to describe it. They didn't move, but they did. I looked away and back, and they seemed farther, like the geometry of the room had shifted just slightly, like the distance between the corners had increased, not physically, but emotionally. That's when I saw her in the reflection of the darkened TV screen across from me. Emily, older, not a child anymore, late 20s maybe, wearing a gray sweater, arms crossed like she was cold. Her head tilted slightly, like she recognized me, but I hadn't moved. I was still staring at the wall, and in that silence, I remembered something I had never remembered before. There was a second chair in the Aldridge house. We never saw it because it wasn't in the room, it was in the wall behind it, not hidden, integrated, and I saw for just a second, like a flicker, a thin sliver of space open between the boards, and inside, a hand small pressed against the wood, like someone had been sitting there the whole time, watching us. I stood up too fast, the room didn't shift back, the corners stayed stretched. I went to the bathroom to splash water on my face and caught something in the mirror again. But not the chair, not Emily, me. Sitting in the chair, still staring, even though I was now standing 2 rooms away. I closed the mirror cabinet, opened it again. Still there, the me in the mirror had not moved, and then it smiled just slightly. That's when I started bleeding, not from a wound, from my ears. Just a few drops, just enough to matter, just enough to know something inside was no longer sealed. I bandaged it up, drank water, paced. When I checked the chair again, it was empty. But the indent where I had sat, deeper than it should have been, like someone much heavier than me had been there for much longer. I didn't sleep. Around 5:00 a.m. the birds started chirping again, and the room snapped back to its normal shape, corners tight, floor flat, TV screen clear, chair normal. But I couldn't forget what the me in the mirror had said because I hadn't heard it. I had felt it. A single phrase, not spoken aloud, but planted in my chest like a seed cracking open. You opened it. I don't know what it is yet, but I've felt it ever since, like a draft under a locked door, like heat behind glass, like someone breathing against the back of my teeth. I tried researching shared hallucinations. I tried architectural anomalies, temporal echoing, mirror recursion. Nothing. But then I searched something stupid. Something that felt right even though it was nonsense. The room that remembers. One result: an archived blog post from 2008, 4 paragraphs written by someone named A.L. No full name. It said, "You don't find the room. You sit long enough in one place and it grows around you. Most people leave before it finishes. But sometimes people like us, people who've seen the chair, we stay too long, and when we leave we take the room with us." That line hit me like a punch to the gut. We take the room with us. That's why it's still following me. Why it shows up in reflections, in dreams, in the background of other people's lives. Because I'm the vector now, I'm the threshold, and if that's true, then maybe this post, the one you're reading, is a door. And maybe now you see the chair too. I deleted the post, or at least I tried. After writing the last sentence, the one about you reading this and seeing the chair, I hit delete. Backspaced the whole thing. Saved over it. Reformatted the draft folder. But it didn't go away. Every time I opened my laptop, the post was there, not in my files, in my email drafts. No sender, no recipient, no subject line, just the text, word for word, and one extra line at the bottom. One more reader, one more room. I checked my sent folder. It had been sent to over 300 addresses, none of them mine. Some were real. Some were gibberish. Some were familiar, old classmates, coworkers, people I hadn't thought about in years. And some addresses had no domain at all. Just names. One was just Brian, no @ no suffix, nothing. I clicked on it. It opened a reply window, the subject autofilled. She's almost done. I didn't type that. The body was blank, except for a cursor flashing, waiting. I shut the laptop, and from the hallway I heard it again. 3 knocks, not loud, patient, measured, like someone gently reminding you of a debt you never realized you owed. I didn't answer. But I knew the door wouldn't matter anymore. Because the room isn't outside the walls, it's inside me now. Every corner I turn has a shadow just slightly out of sync with my movement. Every screen flickers just before I blink. Every reflective surface shows the chair a little closer. And worse, I've started seeing them. Not just Emily, not just Brian, others, people I don't know, or maybe I do, but only from dreams. A woman with no face, just a braid of silver wire where her mouth should be. A man in a hospital gown, eyes stitched shut, holding an unplugged phone to his ear. A child, might have been a boy, sitting cross-legged and tapping on the floor like Morse code. When I listened closely, the tap said, "Still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still." I broke the mirror after that. But the cracks only made it worse. Each shard reflected something different. One showed the chair, one showed me asleep, one showed me awake, watching myself sleep, and one showed my back, even though I was facing forward. I wrapped the pieces in cloth and buried them in a field outside town. The next day they were on my doorstep in a plastic bag labeled, "Room Inventory, Do Not Discard." So I moved again, crossed state lines, new city, new apartment, new name on the lease. Didn't bring anything from the last place except my clothes and a pair of noise-canceling headphones. I don't own any mirrors now, but you don't need them, not when the room starts forming around you in other ways. Last week my hallway grew longer, not literally. I measured it. Still 11 feet, 3 inches, but walking down it takes longer. The air is thicker, the light doesn't reach the end anymore. Even though the bulb is fine, and the shadows on the left wall don't match what's on the right, there's a delay, like the room is buffering. And sometimes, just for a second, I see something waiting at the end. I don't go down that hallway after dark anymore. I sleep on the floor near the front door now, with the light on and my back to the wall, but I still hear it. Every night at 3:11 a.m. sharp, a whisper, always the same. "Do you remember what you said?" I didn't, not until this morning. I went through some old journals I haven't touched since high school, and on one page, way in the back, torn and taped back in place, I found a note in my own handwriting. "If anything happens to me, it's because I said yes, that's it. No date, no explanation, just that." So I started thinking back, trying to trace it. To the moment this all started, the Alderidge house. Maybe, but there was something before, a memory so buried I hadn't accessed it in years. I was 8, summer, visiting an aunt I barely knew, my mom's older sister, who lived in this weird old Victorian-style home out in the woods near Salem. She had rules: no loud music, no opening the root cellar, no sitting in the corner chair in the attic. I remember asking why. She just said, "That chair's not for us." One night, during a storm, I snuck up there. The attic was dry, dusty, full of boxes. And the chair, small, child-sized, carved with spirals, sat perfectly in the far left corner, facing the wall. Something about it made me stop moving, made me whisper. I don't remember what I said, but I do remember the feeling that followed, like I'd been heard. I think that's when it started. Not with Alderidge, not with Brian, with me. With that stupid whisper in the dark, with whatever answered. And now I think it's listening again. Because the chair is back, same corner, same tilt, only this time there's something inside it. Not a person, not a shadow, not a memory. Something that's still forming, something that looks like me, but isn't me yet. And when it turns around, I don't think I'll be the one moving anymore. Last night it spoke to me. Not a whisper, not in the wall, it spoke from the chair. I hadn't meant to get that close. I swore I wouldn't. I set up the usual barriers, salt lines, mirrors covered, white noise in my headphones, candles on every windowsill. Just routine at this point, ritual, but something had shifted. The chair wasn't just in the corner anymore, it had turned. Sometime after 2:00 a.m. while I wasn't looking, it rotated 45 degrees toward the center of the room. Like it was starting to acknowledge me, and when I saw it, my body froze. Not fear, not paralysis, recognition. Like I'd done this before. Like the moment was already lived and I was just catching up to it again. The words came from inside the chair, inside the wood, vibrating through it like sound through a cello, not loud. Not clear, but impossible to misunderstand. You have one left. I asked aloud. One what? No reply. I said, I don't remember what I gave you. Still nothing. Then, just as I turned away. That's the point. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat in the hallway with a notebook and tried to list every moment in my life I couldn't account for. Time lost, dreams too specific to be made up. A bruise on my ankle in 2014 that no injury could explain. The birthday I spent in silence, even though friends swore we went out. The voicemail I got from a dead number that was just breathing for 13 seconds. There are so many, too many to be accidents, too many to be coincidence. I've started marking the walls of my apartment. Every time something slips, every time I lose time, every time the room shifts, I make a line. There are 49 lines now, some faint, some deep enough to splinter drywall. One of them is bleeding, not metaphorically. There is liquid coming from inside the wall, not red, not brown, something in between. Metallic smell, thick like syrup. I had it tested at a lab downtown, didn't tell them what it was. Just said I found it in an old pipe. They emailed me the results the next day. Organic origin. Unidentifiable tissue protein structure. Sample contains non-human DNA markers. I didn't reply, didn't go pick up the vial. That night I heard crying from the chair. It sounded like me. I sat in the hallway for hours, knees locked to my chest, refusing to look, refusing to turn. But the crying continued, soft, tired. Like someone who was exhausted from waiting. Like someone who had finally realized they weren't going home, and at some point I whispered without meaning to, I'm sorry. Everything went silent, and then the floor breathed just once. The boards under the chair exhaled. You could see the dust scatter, like lungs, like something under the floor had heard me and was responding. The next morning my phone camera had 63 new photos, all from the same night, all taken at exactly 3:11 a.m. Every photo showed me asleep in the chair, but I never sat down. And in every photo, I'm older, slightly, wrinkles deeper, eyes duller, hairline thinner. Like each photo is from a different year. Like something is keeping track of all the versions of me that have sat in that chair in other timelines. I deleted them. They came back renamed 1 of 63 _ you agreed.jpg, 2 of 63 _ you look JPG, 3 of 63 _ you forgot.jpg. The last one, 63 of 63 _ this is now.jpg, and when I opened it, it was a live photo, a video just 1 second long, of me looking straight into the camera and saying, I know where she went. My lips moved, my voice, but I have no memory of recording it, no memory of knowing anything. But now it's all coming back, because I'm starting to see the second room, not in dreams, in doorways, behind bus windows, in reflections that last too long. It's always dimly lit, always wood-paneled, and always has 4 chairs now, not 1, 4, each facing a different wall. And I think when all 4 are filled, something will stand in the center and I won't be me anymore, just another observer, just another whisper in someone else's wall, and the cycle will continue. Because this isn't about punishment, it's about preservation. The room doesn't punish, the room records, and one day you'll hear it too, a creak, a breath, a faint voice saying, watch this, and if you do, if you turn, if you sit, you'll understand what Brian did, you'll remember what Emily couldn't say, and then it won't matter if you believe in the chair, because the chair will believe in you. It's been 3 days since I last saw the chair. I haven't moved, haven't cleaned, haven't answered the door. The apartment is quiet now, but not in a peaceful way. It's the kind of quiet you get in a hospital wing after visiting hours, when even the machines seem to hold their breath. I tried burning sage. Didn't help. I unplugged every electronic in the apartment, even took the battery out of my watch. But the clocks still ticked, every one of them, all at 3:11 a.m. I'm not sure what day it is anymore. I don't think it matters. I've started to forget small things. My middle name, the name of my high school, whether my parents are still alive, whether I ever had a brother. Sometimes I look at old photos and don't recognize myself. Sometimes I recognize someone else, a face that doesn't belong, a hand on my shoulder that shouldn't be there. I tried leaving the apartment yesterday, just walked out, no bag, no plan, got maybe 2 blocks before the light changed, and I saw a reflection in the pharmacy window, 4 chairs, 1 facing each direction, empty, waiting. I went back, and now I sit near the door, like always, writing this not because I think it'll help me. I know better, but because maybe, just maybe, someone else will read this before they see the room, before they sit, before they whisper something they don't understand and invite her back, because it always starts the same way, a chair, a dare, a moment you thought was funny at the time, And it ends like this, not with screams, not with fire, not even with blood, just with silence, and a memory that doesn't belong to you. Sometimes I think I hear Brian's voice, or Marcus's, or Josh. Sometimes I hear my own looping back, repeating something I didn't say, at least not yet. But the thing that scares me most is that I'm not scared anymore, just tired of pretending the corners are normal. Tired of acting like the walls haven't changed shape, tired of not sitting, because maybe that's the only way out, to finish the circle, to take your place, to let someone else tell the story next time. I think I'll sit tonight, not because I want to, but because I don't want to be the last one left standing. And when I do, if you hear knocking on your wall, if your mirror fogs at exactly 3:11, if your hallway feels longer than usual, and your chair is a little heavier when you move it, don't answer, don't look, don't sit. But if you already have, then maybe I'll see you in the room. Just don't face me, don't speak, just sit, like we always do, like we always will, forever remembering something we never meant to learn, forever facing the corner together.